Hello, this is Tim Congdon, again, Chief Executive of International Monetary Research. This morning I'm talking on the 15th of September 2015. We had the latest consumer price index in the United Kingdom, and the increase in consumer prices in the year to August 2015 was nil. Okay, so there's no inflation. Some prices went up, but some prices fell, and on average, the price level over that last year was unchanged. No inflation. The purpose of the presentation today is to consider the question, what is the right monetary theory of the determination of inflation? And critically, what is the right concept of money in a valid theory of inflation? Sounds rather technical, it is, but it's quite an important question. Remember that the last presentation I gave closed with a slide on Mr. Liam Halligan at the Sunday Telegraph, with whom I've been having a protracted debate over some years now on whether we were in an inflationary situation in this country. Mr. Halligan has thought that quantitative easing, the creation of money by the state, by the Bank of England in this case, was certain to be inflationary. And so he started back in spring of 2009 to lambast the Bank of England and such people as me who said that quantitative easing was necessary to stop deflation. This then debate got a bit hotter in early 2011 when I was told I was on the losing side of this argument. And then in 2014 we had a debate in the Sunday Telegraph and so on. Now look, we've just had no change in the UK Consumer Price Index. The next year, 18 months, is also expected to be very subdued on the inflation front. The UK is not exceptional. The same kind of situation is found in the Eurozone and in Japan and America and so on. So we want to find out, what is it that is responsible for inflation? And to give Halligan his due, he does actually mention money. I mean, he has got a monetary theory of inflation, which is something in the present time. And I think what I want to emphasize in the next few minutes is that the debate I've had in the last few years with Liam Halligan is just another one of the debates that I've had over many years with a number of economists about this subject. There are three possible aggregates or types of monetary aggregate we could be thinking about. There's the monetary base. I'll come on and explain that a bit more in a second. There's the narrowly defined measure of money, which usually just includes notes and coin in circulation and this money held for retail transactions such as current accounts. And then there's a measure of money which includes all money balances, all types of deposit, including term deposits, deposit accounts, and so on. And this is known as broad money. Just to get it clear, I strongly believe that the measure of money that's relevant in a monetary theory of national income determination, and then in the determination of inflation, is a broad measure. Let's get that clear. Now, in this particular session, I'm not going to be talking too much in favour of that. I'm going to be doing a kind of hatchet job on the monetary base. Okay. Let me make clear that Liam Halligan is not in any sense an outlier in this debate. No way. There are many other people who believe in similar things to him. And it's not just the UK that's been affected by this discussion. In the last few years, the American monetarists, and I include such people as Alan Greenspan, Martin Feldstein, Alan Meltzer, and so on in all this, they also have said, like Liam Halligan, that quantitative easing would lead to inflation. Alan Greenspan, of course, is very distinguished and so on. You can read some things he said, they're very similar to what Liam Halligan has said. All wrong, I'm afraid. There's then, this is important for financial markets. John Paulson, the celebrated hedge fund manager, took a bet on gold. He thought that the gold price would soar because there's going to be lots of inflation because of QE. This was back, 2-3 years ago now, but this was something that was very much public domain, that this was his view, and it was wrong. Okay? The gold price has come back sharply. It's not the first time we've had this debate. I go back, I'm afraid, over 20 years now, late 1980s. There was a debate between myself, where I thought that the rapid growth of broad money, was going to cause a lot of inflation, and then would, the Lawson boom, and there would then be followed by more inflation. I was right, more inflation on the bust, I was right. And I had a lot of trouble with Patrick Minford and to some extent with Sir Alan Walters on this subject. They were wrong, I'm afraid, just as Liam Halligan has been wrong with the monetary base in the last few years. And then we get to Japan. Remember that there's Abenomics, the 3 arrows of Abenomics that are supposed to have transformed Japanese economic policy in the last 2 or 3 years. Well, I'll talk about that. That was all about monetary arrow of Abenomics was about doubling the monetary base and so revolutionizing Japanese monetary policy. Well, there's not much evidence of that in the Japanese price indices at the moment. And the trouble here is all about this idea that it's the monetary base that matters to macro outcomes rather than broad money. Now, to start off from the simplest version of all this, in a way going back to very naive stuff in a way, a lot of people think that any creation of money by the state is money printing. They say money printing is inflationary, and indeed they seem to regard any kind of creation of money except with commodity money, okay, that gold comes out of the ground, it's expensive to mine, it's pretty, it's valuable and so on. So the only good kind of money in this sort of world is commodity money, and indeed some of them go on to advocate a return to the gold standard. Now, Halligan is not there, but many people, for example, economists associated with the Cato Institute in America, have taken that position in the last 2 years, and some of it is in protest against QE and the printing of the creation of money by the state. There's a more sophisticated version of this, which runs that the banking system obviously must be able to pay off deposits with cash. Cash is created by the central bank. If too much cash is created, then that will cause the quantity of money as such to rise rapidly. It's supposed to be a money multiplier, a stable money multiplier that links the monetary base and the quantity of money, and then you get inflation. Okay. Now, let's just look at one version of, as it were, modern version of monetary fundamentalism. Is it the case, for example, that the monetary base by itself could cause inflation? The monetary base consists of 2 things. It consists of notes and coin, okay, dominated by notes nowadays, and the notes are held by us and to some extent outside the banking system held by, for example, retailers for obvious reasons. Okay. Let's just be clear. Cash transactions are less than 1% of total transactions. Okay? That's true throughout the industrial world, and the ratio, by the way, is falling all the time. I haven't included in that all of the transactions that occur in futures exchanges, stock exchanges, and so on. If you added that, there'd be kind of 0.1% of transactions. Now look, the notion that that part of the monetary base, notes and coin in circulation, can determine inflation, macro outcomes in the modern world, don't be so silly. Right. Now the other part of the base consists of banks' cash holdings. The banks have some cash in the till, in the vaults, obviously to repay deposits as we go and take cash out of the bank. And they have some cash at the central bank which can be freely exchanged for actual physical notes. Okay. So, that would matter, wouldn't it? If banks themselves spend a lot of money in the high street or some other way. Look, the great bulk of demand in modern economies is from non-banks, okay? It's from us, it's from companies. Non-bank financial institutions hold financial assets. The notion that banks' cash reserves themselves are relevant to macro outcomes, again, is daft, okay? And banks' cash reserves are not included in standard definitions of the quantity of money, okay? So let's just be clear, the monetary base by itself cannot be responsible for macro outcomes. This is just plain common sense. And can I just say that this is common sense, what I've just explained to you, there are some academic economists who try and emphasize the base by itself. It amazes me, but there are some. And they are said to be propounding black box monetarism. Okay. And because what's going on here? It's a black box. You bet it is. It's nonsense. All right? Okay. Let's move on. Now, the other idea, this is more interesting and more worth discussing, is that banks' cash reserves matter to the behaviour of banks because there's a stable link between the cash reserves and the overall size of the balance sheets. When banks have too much cash created by QE, then this will cause them to lend too much, to acquire other assets by buying securities, whatever. This then creates money, and so on. Now this I have much more time for, but it is not true that there's a stable multiple between the base and the total size of bank balance sheets. This is what's propounded in textbooks. It's wrong. And one of the key revelations of the last few years, the period of the Great Recession and subsequently, is effectively to refute this theory once and for all. There's a lot more to say. But what I haven't done in the last few minutes is to explain why Liam Halligan, and not just Liam Halligan, but Patrick Minford in the 80s, Alan Greenspan, John Paulson, the Bank of Japan, why they're all wrong, basically. These are relatively simple ideas, relatively simple. And I'm sorry, these people have not got the right ideas. There's a lot more to say, and I'll resume this theme in later presentations. Just in the next few minutes, just run through quickly each country. Here's America. You see the base, money as a whole, no connection. Look at the Eurozone, base, money as a whole, no connection. UK, base, money as a whole, no connection. Japan, and so on. The notion that the monetary base by itself determines macroeconomic outcomes is wrong. Okay.